So tension and release. Professional musicians understand that it's not about chords and chords in and of themselves. It's how you tell a story with your chords that give you the ability to sound professional. And with that being said, what is the secret or the methodology to learning how to tell a story with your chords? And the key is tension and release. And the way I think about it is like a balance, in the sense of you can't have up without down, you can't have left without right. It's not balance, contrast. So if you think about colors look more colorful when they're against a neutral background. But if you have colors against other colors, they all look the same. So it's about creating contrast. It's inside the contrast that you get the tension and released, in which you're able to tell a story with your chords, and you get to sound amazing. So let's get into it. So again, we talked about contrast. If everything in your musical playing is the same, that means nothing's different. And it's in the difference that we understand or perceive emotion and feelings. So if every chord is major, it's not that it sounds bad, but it's very one-dimensional, right? It's just, there's no change to it. It's one tonality. But if we were to throw some tension in between there, you see that all of a sudden it's amazing. Why was it amazing? It's just because I threw in some tension. I went from the C major, instead of playing C major twice, I played C dominant the second time. Now to the F, F dominant, back to the G, and that's the tension that you hear that made it more interesting. Okay, so let's slow that down, let's back it up, and let's walk through this. It doesn't matter what we play, we could play Amazing Grace. Throw some tension in there. Right? All this stuff is just tension release. It's really not as complicated as it seems. So let's go ahead and go through more examples. Rather than what you want to do with tension release, it's basically push and pull. So it's like tension just means it's like unresolved. Release means that it is resolved. So when I'm playing like Amazing Grace, right, the first chord, there's tension there. Right, that's a very unresolved chord. It's an A flat 7 sharp 5 sharp 9, which is a dominant chord. We have that tritone in there, which causes tension. This is a tritone. I'll get into theory on that in another lesson, but for now, just understand this is it's not a pleasing sound. Like, it doesn't sound finished. If I played a third, that sounds nice and released. It sounds finished, right? Or if I played a 6, it's like, nice and pleasant. But if I play tritone, it sounds like, what's going on? And so neither sound better than the other. It's about how you use them together interchangeably. So I have a major chord here, then I bring some tension, then I resolve it back to the major chord. You see how it's tension? Back to some more tension. Now, this is me kind of being tricky here. I do resolve it to a minor chord because minors are they're basically major minor chords are rather similar, and I'll get into that in a lesson why I say that. But from a tension release standpoint, they're very relaxed and stagnant. Feels finished. But what I do is I throw in a cluster, a half step in there to cause tension. So, and it kind of like gives you like a special sauce, and it's like, what's that? Something's there. That sounds finished, and that sounds like it's kind of finished, but I kind of want to keep going. Now you can play this regular, like this, but notice again, I'm throwing tension in there. So it's like the same overall kind of chord, right? It's an F sharp minor 7 or minor 9, but when I throw in these extra notes, but it's how I throw them in there, right? Notice my fingering. These half step, man, these half steps are a killer. Such great tension. So then rather than doing a regular B major chord, we can do a B sus, or we can even really throw some tension in there and throw a B sharp 5 sharp 9. Let me change this key so it makes sense here, sorry. Right, so when we do that, see how it resolves to the E? So that's all about tension release, right? I'm using that to my advantage. So again, back to the beginning. Tension there, resolve it. Tension. It's a resolve with a little bit hint of a tension. Again, I'm using the clusters instead of going. That sounds very safe and just like satisfying. It's done. Nothing wrong with that, but I tend to be a little more ambiguous. Or, and then we resolve it. So the whole point of this lesson is just for you to understand, no matter what song you play, throw some tension in there. So let's go back to that first progression I was playing, just a simple 1-4-5. Go back to key of C here. All right, so C, F, G, F, C. Now let's go ahead and throw, on the second time we play the chord, let's go ahead and throw that dominant in there. Okay, that's just one easy way of adding tension. Okay, tension is really easy. Like, easy way to add tension is just to do a dominant chord because it has those tritones in there. Dominant chords have tritones in them. Every single dominant chord has a tritone in them. That's what makes dominant chords is because of that tritone. Simple way to add tension, and that's the way tension makes you want to resolve. So it's a way of moving music forward. So all these passing chords, that's just tension, 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 release. Tension, more tension, release. Tension, release. Tension, release. Tension. So all this is just you're playing around with chords and you're telling a story, and you have to give it some motion and movement, and you use that by tension. It's like watching a movie. The movie has to have some type of plot where something happens to the protagonist where, you know, if you're watching an Avengers movie or an action movie or a spy movie, there's always some type of twist. Everything is not stagnant and boring. It's like, okay, you're thinking this, but then there's some tension, there's something going on, then there's like a big problem that you have to resolve. So that's what you're doing with your music. You're telling a story. So make sure when you play, take some time to experiment with tension and release. This is a major technique that all professional musicians, no matter what instrument they play, understand, and they utilize it to tell a better story. So I hope you guys enjoy that. Drop a comment below what you guys think of this lesson, and I will see you guys in the next video.